Start a new parak today. This is on Chafhei, Bay is on the bottom, 25b on the bottom. Yeah, we thank Hashem that we're able to learn. And in the schus of our learning, we should have the base of Mikdash immediately. We should be refuah shleima for Yechiel Nassim ben Sarah, Aaron David Alevi ben Menucha Lester, and Avram Rafal ben Sarah. So the parak starts. There's actually some people have this parak before the last parak. I think occurred. Yeah, there's a difference on how in different Mishnayos or Gemara on how what the order of the prakim are. So here it says Bnei Ha'ir Shemachar Recheva Shalir. They sold the town square. Yeah, I guess to a private investor. So, Leichim B'dam of Beis HaKnesses. This opinion, the Gemara is going to tell us it's an individual. It's not everyone's opinion, but this opinion holds that the town square that's used for a prayer, a location for prayer on fast days or possibly Ma'amades as well. If the representatives of the Jewish people for the sacrifices would gather there, they would end up praying in that area. So it absorbs some sanctity because of those prayer services. And then when they sell it, so the money gets the sanctity and they have to do something holy with that money. What can they do? They buy a shul. Like in B'dam of Beis HaKnesses. Yeah. What about all those Friday night minyanim in people's dining rooms? Does the dining room get any sanctity and then they can't use it for, and the people that live far from the shul. So Shabbos morning they go and Friday night they have a local minyan. What happens to that living room, dining room? Okay, Beis HaKnesses, let's say they sell a Beis HaKnesses. Yeah, this is problematic, but let's say it sounds like b'diavad. It's not discussing the lechatchila. Lechatchila, there's complications, but let's say it got sold. So like teva, they buy a teva. I don't know if that's a bima or a aron kodesh. Sounds like it's an aron kodesh. Teva. Let's say they sold an aron kodesh. Like mitpaches, they can buy the mantle of the Sefer Torah. Yeah, I don't know if it means they call it a mantle that we have today, or I've seen Svardish Sifrei Torah where the back of the parchment they have a cloth that runs along the whole thing. It makes it very heavy to do Hagba, but they have a cloth that runs along the whole Sefer Torah. It's protecting the skin, the parchment. Mitpaches yikchu svarim. If they sell the cloths that wrap the Sefer Torah, then you can buy Svarim. Svarim means Nevi'im and Ksuvim, according to Rashi. Svarim, if they sold the Svarim, the Nevi'im and Ksuvim, so, like Torah, then they have to buy with that. What could be holier than that? Basically, they keep moving up in level. The only question that comes up, the big question that comes up is, what about something of equal value? They're only telling me that I have to increase. They're not telling me, they're telling me that I can't decrease. I have to increase. What about if it's the same? Can I buy other? I assume yes, right? So why does it say you have to only go up? Svarim leichen Torah. Aval machru Torah leichu svarim. Svarim leichu mitpaches leichu teva. Teva leichu Beis HaKnesses. Beis HaKnesses leichu rechav. Now they're telling me I can't go down. So the diak would be that, okay, but at least you can buy what's equal. Right? That's what it sounds like from the end of the Mishnah. What happens if, they bought a Sefer Torah, or whatever, and they had money left over. So does the money left over, is it just like, okay, you can do whatever you want with it? Because it's left over, they already purchased the Sefer Torah. So the Mishnah says that no, you can't go down. You have to save it for next time they'll do another purchase. Okay. B'nei Yair, the Mishnah, the Gemara says, Shemachar Rechei v'Shaliyar, the people of the city that sold the town square. Amar Rabba bar Chanam Rabbi Yechanan zu Divri Reb Menachem bar Yosi stumta. So Rabbi Yechanan, as told over by Rabba bar Chana, he says that this is not everyone's opinion. This is the opinion of Reb Menachem bar Yosi stumta, that there are stam mishnayos that follow him. We had that before earlier. I guess Rabbi Akiva stima or something. Remember? It's in the beginning of the Masechta. Rabbi Akiva stima. Yeah, somewhere in the beginning of here we had it. That we have a stam mishnah, we have an anonymous mishnah that follows Reb Menachem bar Rabbi Yosi. And even though it's not really an anonymous mishnah, you see, if it would be an anonymous mishnah, a regular anonymous mishnah, then that would be the halacha. What Rabbi Yechanan is doing is telling me, don't think that this is an anonymous mishnah. Actually, Rabbi Yechanan is the one that says halacha is stam mishnah. That's his statement in Shas. He's saying this is not really a stam mishnah. This is Reb Menachem bar Rabbi Yosi's opinion. I thought the pshat in the stam mishnah was that Rebbe made it into a stam because Rebbe wanted to paskin like that. Rabbi Yechanan tells us is that that's how Rebbe's paskening. Halacha is stam mishnah. So now we would have the question. So what's Rabbi Yechanan telling me here? I don't know. Okay. I guess what Rabbi Yechanan is doing is he's telling us, don't paskin like this stam mishnah. This is an exception, because this is the sages, the majority argue on this. They say the street is not holy. I know you used it once for a fast day. You davened over there, but that didn't make it holy. You can still sell that. But Reb Menachem bar Yosi, my time. What's the reason for Reb Menachem bar Yosi? Because the people do daven there on a fast day. They go out into the street. They daven there. For us, we would say because we dance there on Simchas Torah. It's by one aliyah, by one kafa. Okay, for Rabbanan hu akrai b'alma. The Rabbanan say that that's just a temporary occurrence. That doesn't make the street holy. Okay. Now the Gemara says basic ness is like Teva. If they actually sold the shul, then you can buy with the money that they received, the purchase money, they can now buy an Aron Kodesh. Amar Shmuel bar Nachmani, Amar Rabbi Yonasan. Yeah, that's a common pair for Agadata. It's not so common for halacha. Leishanu ela basic ness shel kfarim. This is only talking about if it's a village. But if it's a city, basic knesses, given to me alma asule, since from the world comes to them, it's unclear if that means it was maintained and purchased by money that comes from everyone that comes to visit, or if it means that just since people expect to be able to go there and to daven there. Tosfos has different two ways of looking at this. So, you can't sell it at all. It turns out that what we were talking about before sounds like even l'chatchila, that they're allowed to go and sell it. Why? Because it's talking about a village, basic knesses, where they own it. The people actually own it. They're allowed to sell it. But if it's a basic knesses of a city, of a big city, people come from all over. That you can't sell. They're expecting to come to that show. It was built for the guests, and so they would need permission from the whole world to be able to sell it.
Wow.
Yeah, you see the top place.
Like there's no idea of like a central government, I guess. Like
yeah, we'll see that soon. That there's that's going to come up. It's called Shiva Tuva Yair. We'll see that soon. The town representatives, that they can make these decisions. Yeah, what happened in Crown Heights over the last 15 years, probably 20 years, is that there were some old shoals that would around Crown Heights, and there was 770. And you could choose if you wanted to get pushed around in 770, if you're more balabatish, you wanted to sit down somewhere. So you would go to the older crowd, would probably, and they'd go to a small shoal somewhere. But then what happened was so many people were graduating and getting married, and every year there'd be like another 60 people or something, or 100. So they would every class would open up their own shul. And now there's shuls everywhere, and it goes by, do you belong to that class? I mean, they let you in, but whatever. But it was started with certain graduating years that they started these shuls. Yeah, it's very interesting. They have some money also, and they different kiddush sizes and whatever. Couches for chairs. They make it different.
Council like a two-way out here?
I don't think so. I don't think so. There is a town council that does things for, they have a boss that takes, they do different things. I don't know the ins and outs of it. Amaravashi, yeah, so basically, if it would be purchased by, it's just for them, it's like a village sort of show, they could sell it. But a big show like 770, that it's not made for the people, it's made for everyone. So Amaravashi, Hi Beknishta de Masamachsia. Ravashi lived in Masamachsia. I believe that's the same place as Surah, which is where Rav was, but I think either there's two parts to the city, or there's or it's the name changed. Afal Demi Alma Asu. What does it say over there?
It's situated near the city of Surah.
Oh, it's near the city of Surah.
Which did not have particular significance. Not visited by a wider public until Rav Ashi settled there.
Surah must have been a large place. So Masamachsia is a suburb. So Afagav de Mialma, so even though people come from other places, but given the Adaita Didikasi, since they're coming with my intention, I guess it means with intention for me. So Ibaina Mizavnina, I'm able to sell it. He says he's able to sell the show.
Oh.
Okay. Meisvei, there's a question. Rab Yehuda says, Maisa basic shel Tursium Shaybir Shalayim. There was a shul of coppersmiths in Yerushalayim. It still exists. So Shemachru Rabbi Eliezer, they sold it to Rabbi Eliezer. Now Rabbi Eliezer, I see in Rabbi Hananel, is really Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah, but that's not our girsa. Our girsa is Rabbi Eliezer, which is Rabbi Eliezer ben Hyrcanus. Both of them were wealthy. Rabbi Eliezer ben Hyrcanus was wealthy, and Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah was wealthy. We know that. And he did whatever he did. I guess he lived in it, so he did whatever he needed. It was started off as a shul. Rabbi Eliezer buys it. Now the problem is, so far no problem. The only problem is Vahasim the Krachim have it. But Yerushalayim is a big city. Mariam says, that was a small shul in a big city. They built it. They made it. It was like those steebles, those small shuls in Kranite. It belongs to those people. It's not the big shul of the big city. Yeah. Yeah, when I moved, someone was trying to sell me a small shul in North Miami Beach. Actually, in Surfside, I almost bought that, that stiebel, Rebbitz and Vine. I almost, before I moved there. And then, but there's complications, it's not so simple halachically. Yeah. Meisvei.
Yeah, the rabbi also made sure that there was a minion by the rabbis.
Yeah, that's correct. That's what the best. And when the shul of Bel Harbor opened up, So there was a dintaira with Rebbetzin and Vine, and the rule was that if they ever needed a minion, he would make sure that they would have. Now they don't need. Now they have. It's a big Sephardic shul now. The Stiebel became a Sephardic shul. Okay, Meisvei. Another question. This is talking about Tumah. Negoyim, leprosy on a house. If it comes onto a house in the land of your inheritance. Achuzaschem, in a house in the land of your inheritance, Metame benegoyim, bein Yerushalayim Metame benegoyim. That's not considered your inheritance. It's not considered privately owned. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Anila Shemati ala Makim Mikdash Bavad. Rabbi Yehuda argues. He says it's only the base of Mikdash that's exempt from leprosy, but not the other houses. Now, it means Yerushalayim. Yeah, it means the land of Israel, but the exception of it would be Yerushalayim because we'll see in a moment. How about the Knesset, about the Midrashos Metamin? Yeah, what the Gemara is understanding, and at least the one that's asking the question is understanding, is that the limitation of Achuzaschem, it has to be yours, means that you're able to sell it. But if it's a shul, then you wouldn't be able to sell it because it's a shul in a big city. And Rabbi Yehuda doesn't say that there's any limitation of Negoyim on those shuls. There's only a limitation on the base of Mikdash because that's not yours, but the shuls sound like they are yours. You're asking a question. We said that shuls in big cities belong to everyone. Amai had the krachim have belongs to everyone. The Gemara answers, Imam Rabbi Yehuda, Anila Shemati ala Makom Mekudesh Balvad. We adjust the words of Rabbi Yehuda, saying not the Makom Mikdash, Makom Mekudesh, not the holy place, but holy places, but places of holiness, which refers to shuls as well. Yeah, so we adjust the words, so it includes also shuls. For my kamiflagi, if that's the case, what's the machlekes between the Tanakam and Rabbi Yehuda regarding if tzaras can come on houses in Yerushalayim? And as if there is a spot, is that considered tzaras? Tanakam Chalka Yerushalayim l'shvatim. Tanakam holds Yerushalayim wasn't divided; it's no one's inheritance. Rabbi Yehuda Savar Chalka Yerushalayim l'shvatim, it is divided; it is an inheritance. The pluk to Dani Tanai, and it follows another machlekes. The Tanya was started in a brisa. Ma haya bechelka shel Yehuda. There's a Yerushalayim. There's the border of the two tribes of Yehuda and Binyamin. Goes through the base of Mikdash itself. Which part?
Outside of the base of Mikdash was Yehuda, and then the Temple Mount itself was Binyamin.
Yeah, something like that. Oh.
Yeah, the picture's really cool.
So it splits the base of Mikdash.
You can see the altar. There's a little
the
part where they split
very good.
on the corner. Part of Yehuda also.
Yeah.
Yeah, it touches the altar.
Yeah.
It actually would go under the altar also, I think. Yeah, so it would. Oh no, Judah. Yeah, so it goes like this. Let's take a look. It says, what part was in the land of Yehuda? Harabayas, the Temple Mount. It's talking about the eastern side. Halishkais, the eastern, the rooms in the Ezra's Nashim. Oh, interesting. Bazaris, the courtyards. What does it mean, the courtyards? Ezra's Nashim, Ezra's Yisrael, Ezra's Kayanim. Mahya Bechelke Shel Binyamin, what was in the land of Binyamin? Ulam vehechal beis Kodesh Kadashim. So you're coming from the other end. The Kodesh Kadashim, the Heichal and the Ulam, that's Binyamin. The Azara and the Lishkais and the Ezra's Yisrael, that's going to be Yehuda. In the center is the Mizbeach between them. We didn't say what that is. So the Mizbeach was built on a little strip of land that came out from Yehuda. Binyamin, even before, was grieved over this. It was trying to swallow that area. Is hovering over it the whole day. Chayfef actually means like to shampoo. It's like to, my kids say to scrubble. That's to scrub and to, I don't know what the other word is mixed in there. But So
Bubble.
into bubble, yeah.
We
So
get rid
to scrubble. So so it's chayfif because when something's bothering you, you like rub it a lot. So that's what it means. Chayfif alav. It's bothered. It's being bothered by that Yehuda gets that area.
He says agonize.
Agonized. Yeah. Okay. Because of this, Binyamin merited. I don't know what it means because of this. Because it's grieved or it's agonized. Whatever the case is, the Aran is hosted by Binyamin. The Shechina is hosted, or Shpazichan is hosted by Binyamin. Okay. So apparently it's divided according to this opinion. The other Tana holds that Yerushalayim was not divided. The Tanya, can't rent a house in Jerusalem. It doesn't belong to you. People just come to stay. It's like Shemitah time, like it's all hefker. Yeah. When the Rebbe was sick, so he was in a hospital in Manhattan. So all the Bachrim went to the hospital. They slept in the chapel and in the hallways and the things. Anyway, there was a guy, one of my friends he slept on a park bench outside on a bench. So someone comes over to him in the middle of the night, a homeless guy, says, "Get off my bench." So that's what happened in Yerushalayim. The guy, he doesn't really own it, but he would probably still tell him, "Get off my bench." No one owns it.
You said it's like Hefker, but is it like Hefker or is it like Hegdish?
Over here we're saying it's like Hefker. It wasn't divided. It's not Hefker like you can take it. Hefker means like anyone can take it. It's just that it wasn't divided. It belongs to like the city, So, oh yeah. Chains, right? I remember that. Milk crates with chains on them. Rabbi
Is the
Lazar-
idea also that it's like a city of refuge? Like it's like
Oh, that
a
could
city of
be.
Levium?
Yeah, that could be part of this as well. Yeah, I didn't see this mentioned, but that could be part of that. It says Rabbi Lazar bar Tzadok Aimer, or maybe it's Rabbi Lazar bar Shimon. I forget what I saw over here. Rabbi Lazar, yeah, in the Tosefta it's Rabbi Lazar bar Shimon. He says Afle mites. You can't even rent the bed. Let me read one more line before I explain that. Otherwise, it's not going to be so clear. Abaya says that it's derech eretz. If you stay in an inn, in a home, that you should leave there your flask in the hide. Okay. Now you go back to the Gemara before. Rabbi Lazar bar Tzadok says that the beds are also not able to be rented out, and therefore the hides of Kachim, if someone brought a sacrifice and the hide belongs to the person that brought the sacrifice. If it was an oila, it would go to the Kainim. But if it was a different sacrifice, a shlamim, then it would belong to the owner.
So you would leave it.
So Rabbi Lazar says that Bali Yishpiz and Neitel Neisim B'Zraya. It was as if when the owner of the home took it, it was as if he was taking it by force because he really didn't deserve it because he wasn't the owner. It belongs to there is no host here. There is a guy that thinks he's the host. He lives there all year. You just go there so when you leave the hide, it's as if he took it by force, as if he had no rights to that.
No.
Because everyone really owns it. Yeah.
Says the halacha of not renting out homes in Yerushalayim is not really practiced anymore.
Right. Amar Rava, Leishanu al Shleimachu Shivatu V'yer. This is what we're talking about when it comes to selling something of holiness, that you have to always move up. You can never sell it going down. You never degrade in holiness. That's only if the town elders, the town council, 7 tuvei ha'ir. Tuvei sounds like the good people of the city. B'maimed anshe year. If That's only if it wasn't sold by the town council in front of the people. But if it was sold by a town meeting, by the town council in front of the people, even if you want to buy beer. Yeah, I'm not sure if it means to buy a tavern, to buy a bar, or to buy beer. Yeah, one of them will last a little longer. Oh, B'nai, yeah, you're right. You're right. That's a good point. Reb Naftali is pointing out that the Mishnah started off with B'nai Ha'ir. Yeah. So that's why there's a diuk there, that it was the B'nai Ha'ir that wasn't with the town. How did they sell the town square without the Shiva Tuva'ir there? Yeah. I guess they just made the sale. And who owns it? I don't know. I don't know how that works. It sounds like it belongs to the city. How is it sold without the Tuvei Hayir, the governing body? How was it sold without them?
There's a small note. It says, Mayri explains that these 7 men were not appointed by the residents, rather they were the 7 people who generally ran the town's affairs. He adds, however, that if the residents were to appoint even a single individual to be the representative to make the sale, he would have the full authority to do so, just like the 7 representatives.
Yeah. Yeah, I know stories about shows where the membership dwindles. The older members want to sell it. No one knows what's going to happen with the money. But then some young rabbi comes in and tries to build it up, and the older members are like, "Oh, this was not in our plan."
You liked it the way it was before.
Okay, Ravina Havale Hitila de Beknishta. A tel now in archaeology, a tel means that there's like the ruins of some ruins. So Ravina had in his property a tel. It was the ruins of an old synagogue. Asal Kami de Ravashi. She comes to Ravashi. Ravina and Ravashi are the end of the Talmudic period. Amalei Ma'olam Israel. I'd really like to plant something over there. Amalei Zil Zavne Mishiva Tuvayir b'Maibadan Shir V'Zara. Says go sell it in front of the 7 elders. I think it means go buy it. The Zavne probably. It's in Aramaic. It's very difficult to know what if Zavan means to buy or sell. It means both. I don't know the pronunciation. Zavan or Zaban or something. Maybe that would switch it. Rami Bar Abba, Havi Kabani Beknishta. Rami Bar Abba, he builds a shul. Havi Kabani Beknishta. Havi Kabani. Havi Ahi Knishta Atika. But the problem was there was another shul, an old shul. Havi Boila Mistre, Lasui Livne Kshurimine. Vital Lahasam. What he wants to do is he wants to take from an old shul bricks and beams and bring it over to the new shul. Yeah, I can't see anyone doing this today unless it was like stained glass windows or something.
Right.
They would bring from an old shul, and so to keep that. So Yosef Kami Baile Hadar Rav Chisda. He sits and he asks about a statement from Rav Chisda. Dam Rav Chisda Leilista Beknishta Ad the Bani Beknishta Achriti. This is Baba Basra, if you remember that. You're not allowed to break a shul until you build a new shul. There's a problem. We're afraid that you may demolish the old shul and never build and never get the new one building. This is what happened probably over there in Rabbi Forta, right? He built a new shul and the old shul is still there. Correct? The old building is still there. They knocked it down.
Knocked it down, yeah.
How did he do that? What happened?
Yeah, he built it. He turned it down until the other one was built.
Oh, he waited for the other one to be built. It's Mamash this Gemara. So, at the Bani Beknish Tachriti, Hasamishim Pshiusa. That's talking about because there may be negligence. Ki I gavna mai, but in my situation, I'm already in the middle of the construction. So it's not negligence. I'm going to bring it over. It's going to actually help me build the new one. So Asal Kamidir of Papa Vasale. He came to Rav Papa. He said, nope, you can't do it. Lakamidir Rav Huna Vasale. It's possibly Rav Huna Breder of Yeshua. Yeah, it's probably Rav Huna Breder of Yeshua, because Rav Huna Breder of Yeshua and Rav Papa are contemporaries. They're both students of Abai and Rava. So he comes to both of them in that generation, and he also forbade it. Yeah, so that would seem that that's the conclusion. Amar Rava, hai beik nishta chilufa uzavuna shari, agure mashkuna aser. So, hai beik nishta, a shul, if you sell it or exchange it, so then that property, the shul property, the sanctity leaves it, and it goes on to the purchase, to the money that was received for the sale. So the sanctity actually left the house and goes on to the money, and now the money needs to purchase another shul or something holier than that. However, if it's a guri and mashkuna, if it wasn't actually sold, if it was just rented, or if it was given over as mashkuna, sounds like a lent or as a collateral, so then the sanctity never left the shul. So it's still a shul. You can't use it for other things. It's asur. So my timer, what's the reason for this? Its sanctity remains. Livni nami, when it comes to the bricks as well of the shul, if those bricks were sold or exchanged, then good. Then those bricks are usable, and the sanctity goes on to the exchange. However, uzfinu, if it was rented, then asur. Then it still retains. I don't know who would rent bricks, but if someone rented the bricks, those bricks are still holy. Hanimili batiki. Batikta. This is only with a shul that was used already. It's an older shul. Aval b'charita leslamba. But if it's a brand new shul, then the holiness, or the bricks are brand new, the holiness never went on them, so it's not a problem. Even if you say that hazmana milsa, hazmana means designation. When something gets designated, it already takes on that sanctity. Yeah, there's a discussion in the Gemara. We hold hazmana lav milsa, I think. But the designation isn't enough until it's used. Yeah. Hani mili, but even according to that opinion, that would only be someone weaves a garment for the burial shrouds. So then the rule is that you can't have any benefit from anything that belongs to the burial, from the coffin or from the shrouds or even from the gravestone. You can't have any benefit from that. There's a problem even to lean on it.
On a tombstone?
Yeah, it's asur b'hana. We learned this from very nice. We learned this from the Egla Arufa. We learned from the Egla. Everything is asur. So what would happen if someone he didn't actually use the shrouds yet? He weaved it. He had it woven. So that would be asur according to that opinion. Oh, very nice.
Small.
Thank you. Yitzi came. So Avalhacha Kitavi Larigdami, here it's like he spun it in order to weave it. It's not even holding there yet. We're talking about the bricks. The bricks were made for the Beis HaKnesses, but it wasn't used yet. I don't know if it means it wasn't built. For sure, the shul wasn't used yet. Maybe it means it wasn't built yet either. So then you're allowed to use those bricks for other things. And there's no one that would say it would be a problem.
Is this a declaration like when you say this is L'Shem mitzvah of such, like
Yeah.
making tefillin, talis, whatever, or sukkah, right? Is it L'Shem
Right.
mitzvah? That's the designation
Yeah,
they're talking about, or is it something more formal than that?
No, it's just that. That's what I was wondering about this, because the Gemara's example here is Ketavi la'arig dami. It's like you spun the wool in order to weave it. Who says that there's a problem, or when is there a problem according to that opinion that says Hazman and Milsi, that's when it's woven. But here you didn't even weave it yet. You're just spinning the wool, right? There's many steps before. You have to shave it off shear it off the animal, and then you have to wash it and dye it. And so, but that we're saying is considered nothing. So I'm wondering, because there is a machlekes Rav and Shmuel, if tzitzis needs to be spun lishma. I know tzitzis needs to be made lishma, but what about the spinning of the wool? Shmuel holds that it needs to be spun lishma as well. So with this Gemara not fit with Shmuel, because Shmuel holds that the spinning is also part of the process. Lishma means with the intention that it's going to be for the mitzvah. Shmuel is very strict.
You go that far, then you also have to say that the shearing also has to be lishma.
Yeah, he doesn't go that far. He just goes up until the spinning.
But when you go,
which
point then like,
yeah,
which point does it actually go? Because the initial aspect is when they actually shear the animal.
Right.
So with bricks, it's digging out the clay to make the brick.
Yeah, so here we're saying that just the making of the bricks is nothing.
Oh.
Everyone would agree with that. The making of the bricks is nothing. Matana, pligi baravacha varavina. If it was given as a gift, does the sanctity leave the shul? So, chad aser v'chad shari. One says that it's aser, one says that it's mutter. Manda aser, one that says that it's aser. Bahai tifka kedush aser. It's not supposed to be Bahai. It doesn't make sense. You have to adjust it to B'mai. B'mai means with what? Well, the reason why it's aser is B'mai. With what? Tifka kedush aser. How did its sanctity leave? What version do you have over there? Do you have Bahai?
Yeah. It says
It's
the
a Bahai.
high.
Yeah, it still puts it as a question, as if it says B'mai. Okay. Oman Shari, and the one that says that it's mutter, ilav the havale hanamine loyabiyavle hada havale matanik izmini. He says, why do you give him a gift? Because the guy did something good to him. So there was an exchange over there. So whatever benefit he got, and that's why he gave a gift. So that's what that was already an exchange. So the sanctity would leave the shul or the bricks, and they would go on to whatever benefit he had received before. Every gift is really an exchange. That's what he's saying. Taner Rabbanan, starting in the Brisa, Tashmishi mitzvah and Nizrakin. Articles that are used for a mitzvah could then be thrown out. We'll see what they are in a minute. Tashmishi kedusha niknazim. Articles that are used for holiness, that cannot be thrown out. It needs to be buried. Let's take a look at this. Ve'elohein tashmishi mitzvah. These are the articles of mitzvah that could be disposed of. You're not allowed to degrade them, but they're allowed to be discarded. Not in a degrading way, but put them in a bag and you throw them out. Sukkah. You hear? You don't have to put your schach and shemus or your canvas when it gets old or whatever. So you let the city take it away. The schach. Lulav, the same with the lulav. You don't have to bury the lulav. Shofar, same with the shofar. Mamish. People ask sometimes, what? I have an old shofar. Is it shemus? It's not shemus. Tzitzis, the same with tzitzis. A lot of times people put tzitzis in shemus. It doesn't actually need to be. It's not supposed to be thrown out, and it could be going shemus, but it doesn't have to.
Oh, it shouldn't be thrown out, or
it shouldn't be thrown out in a regular garbage. You put it in a bag.
in a bag.
Should be more. So it's together with the last week's challenge. That's not respectable.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, the chunk gets composted. Well, if I don't know if you want the animals or the Elohim Tashmishim. Oh, you have a vegetarian challenge. That's a different story. It's not with meat. You don't want that. The Elohim Tashmishi Kedusha. These are things that need to be buried. The Luskame Svarim, a case of Svarim for scrolls. Tefillin and mezuzahs. The tikshel sefer Torah. Tefillin mezuzah goes in shemus. The tik. Also a case of a sefer Torah. Benartik shel tefillin. Benartik is also a case.
Nowadays, I think garbage is buried now, like in a landfill
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, so it's buried anyway.
I don't.
Question is if it's if it's if you're allowed to degrade it like that. So probably that's
I mean, I
why
don't know how Seamus is.
we'll see what happens with James.
Oh, okay.
Menatik Shaltum to same and also the straps. It's all Seamus. Amarava Mireshava Mina Haikursaya Tashmisha the Tashmishu Vishari. Rava says that originally I thought that this bima that a Sefer Torah is read upon, that's Tashmish de Tashmish. It's not actually Tashmish Kedusha, because there's a cloth that they always put over it. So the bima is just holding up the cloth, and the Sefer Torah is read on the cloth. And so therefore, the bima, an old bima, you could just discard. Keeping the chazin, the mesiva, like Sefer Torah, see that sometimes they actually put the Sefer Torah directly on it. I mean, a tashmish kedusha v'aser. Say no, it's tashmish of kedusha and it's aser. Yeah. What do you do with an old bima? That's a very interesting question. It's a problem. It cannot be discarded. Yeah. Amarava Merishav mina hai prisa tashmish the tashmishu. Prisa is the some sort of cloth that went inside the Aron Kodesh. It wasn't on the outside like a pareichas. It was on the inside. So Rava thought that this could be discarded, but given the chazina, in other words, it's a decoration for the Aron Kodesh, and the Aron Kodesh I know is holy, but this is something that's for something that's holy. But given the chazifa the aifale yamanchi sifra levei amina tashmish kedusha vaser, but I see that sometimes they use that curtain, they fold it up and they put the Aron to rest on it. They put the Sefer Torah to rest on it. So then it's actually a tashmish of an article of holiness. It's used for holiness, so it can't be discarded. Amar Rabba hay tevusa the ifrat. If a Aron Kodesh came apart, if part rhymes with came apart. So you have to make with it a small Aron Kodesh. But Kersaya Aser. Kersaya. To make a bima, that would be Aser. Because that's lowering down. The Aron Kodesh is holier than the bima. Amarava bima is the platform that the Torah is read upon. Amarava hai prisa the bala, the mev the prisa the sifri shari. Prisa is a curtain for the Aron Kodesh. If it's getting worn out, so you could use it to make a covering for a sefer, a mantle for a sefer.
Is this specific for an Aron Kodesh that was built to be an Aron Kodesh, or is this also if you were to take a piece of furniture that was not intended to be an Aron Kodesh
and used it
as an Aron Kodesh?
Yeah, I think from what we learned is that once it gets used, then that's even worse, not worse. That's even stricter than if it was built for that. If it's built for that, then you enter into a machlaikus of hazmana milsa. Is the intention, is the designation considered something? But when it's actually used, then that should be worse. Unless when it was used, it was never really used as a permanent thing. It was used, that could change it as well. Yeah, I don't know the answer, but that's definitely a question. The
reason I come up with that question is because sometimes we go to like a minion that's not like a fixed minion, right, and we utilize maybe a cabinet or something of that sort that wasn't designated to be an Aron Kodesh. Now all of a sudden we're using it as an Aron Kodesh to put the sefer for covered.
Right, it's a good question. I don't know the answer.
But there, if it's not, it doesn't belong to you guys, right? It's just from the Armentrout Lakes or something.
I'm thinking of two things. I'm thinking like when you go on a cruise and they bring a Sefer Torah and it doesn't belong to you. And then I'm thinking about a situation where you have a shul like we do in the clubhouse where we have our Aron Kodesh, and it was a cabinet that was bought on Amazon and converted, that put some wheels on it and stuff so you could stick it into a cabinet, into a closet. It's used as an Aron Kodesh, but it was never designated to be an Aron Kodesh.
Yeah. I don't know the answer.
The question is, when we first started the shul, we didn't know it was going to be a shul. We bought a small plastic cabinet in Home Depot in order to put the sefer inside, because we were only davening for that Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur in the clubhouse.
Uh-huh.
And I still have that cabinet, but I never ever thought of it as being a Aron Kodesh.
Uh-huh.
And it's sitting outside to be discarded. So this is an important question.
It's plastic, it has to be recycled.
The doctor says you have to recycle it.
Does he need a cabinet? Does he need a storage
Sounds
cabinet?
like in your case, the detail there is that you bought it for that, right?
But in that situation, we specifically declared it before using it. I remember we said that it is not being used. It's not declared as an Aron Kodesh by any means. It's a temporary measure that we're using this right now because we didn't have a room, we didn't have a minion. It wasn't. Nothing was permanent. It was a COVID minion that was put together for Rosh Hashanah.
What did we say before? We had a cry ba'alma. One opinion holds that the fact that the town square was used, that was just a cry ba'alma. That was just a temporary situation, and it didn't give any holiness. That would be another piece of the puzzle. Okay.
Is a cemetery holy?
Yeah, it's Asr Ba'ana, a cemetery. Yeah, you're not allowed to. The only reason why you're allowed to walk on the graves is, I think, because they allow you. You're not allowed to like take rocks or something off and then take it home or something. You're not allowed to take anything from a cemetery. Okay. Kursaya, Prisa the Bala. If it gets worn out, the Mevdi Prisa Lasifri Shari Lachamashim Masa, but you can't lower it down to make a mantle for Chamashim. Vamarava Hani Zvili. These cases, the Chumshi, the Kamitri the Sifri, are boxes of Svarim, Tashmisha Kedushin in Ovinigdazim. Yep, that's Tashmish Kedusha. And that has to be buried. The Gemara says Pshita, of course. What could I have thought? Maybe I could say it's not made for covet. It's just made to protect them. And it's not really an honorable case. It's just made for something to hold it so it doesn't get ruined. So Kamash Malan, that is still considered holy. Okay. Apparently these Jews from Rome, they came to Eretz Yisrael. Yeah, they made a shul, and it was called Beiknishta Derimai, the Roman shul. You would walk through the shul, and you would get to the back room. Ended up that there was a corpse in the back room. And Vahavi Boy Kayane Lameil Itzluyas, but Kayane wanted to come in and daven. Now the rule is that the entranceway of that the corpse is going to be taken out also becomes tummy. So we learned this. Unless the doors are closed, and there's ways out of this. But basically, the way to go in and out from this room was through the shul. It's a problem. So also Amalei Rava, they came to Rava. What could we do? Amalei Dalatevusa, take the Aron, Isvu, and put it there. The Havali Kliyetz Asal Nachas, because that's a cabinet. And a cabinet that's never moved is it's like a wall.
Right.
A cabinet that's not moved when it's full is like a wall. And so that would block off the doorway. And then that room won't be tummy. The tumah won't spread sideways because you're blocking the door. You put the Aron in front of the Aron Kodesh in front of the door that would block off the doorway where the room where the corpse was. Amalei Rabbanan L'Rava, it was in the back room.
It had a back door.
I assume it had a back door as well. Yeah. Amalei Rabbanan L'Rava, Vazimnan de Metalton Le Kimanach Sefer Torah Lave. 1 second. Aron Kodesh, every once in a while, they move it with the Sefer Torah inside. Bavali Metaltala Mali Verekam. Now it loses that status of being a cabinet that's not Mekabel Tumah. Because anything that's moved, we learned from a sack. Like a sack. It's a sack is carried full and empty. That's something that's a keli, that's Mekabel Tumah. anything that's not carried when it's full, so then it's not considered a keli. The problem is the Aron Kodesh, every once in a while they do carry it with the Sefer Torah in it. Rava says that's the case. I don't have a solution for you. The Kainim can't daven there. Amar Marzutra, mitpachis farm shabalu. The coverings of Sefer Torah that are worn out. You can use them. Here we're learning about how Shemus is buried.
Oh.
I have something that's Shemus. What do I do with it? So I wrap a Meis Mitzvah in it. Meis Mitzvah is someone that didn't have anyone to take care of his burial. So you don't have money, or maybe whatever it is, just you find the corpse on the street. So who takes care of that? And there's no relatives or whatever. So you could take Shemus or a covering of a Sefer Torah and use it to bury. And this is how it's buried. Amarava Sefer Torah Shabala Gains, and I say it's a Talmud Chacham. A Sefer Torah that's worn out, you bury him next to a Talmud Chacham. Yeah, when they dig a grave, they put in that as well. But even if he wasn't such a Talmud Chacham, yeah, going to measure like what type of Talmud Chacham he was. Even if he just learned halachas, he wasn't mishamish another Talmud Chacham. That's good enough. Amar Ravacha Bar Yaakov b'kli cheres. Ravacha Bar Yaakov adds in, but the Sefer Torah is buried in an earthenware pot. Shenemar menasatim b'kli cheres l'man yamdu yamim rabim, so that it should last for a long time. Because you don't want it to. I don't think they do this. I think they just put it in, but maybe for a Sefer Torah it's different. Over there, that was talking about when they're going into Galus, that they should the ownership of the different properties that they purchased, they should keep the documents, the deeds inside a clay pot so it should last for a long time. Okay, let's leave it here. Have a good Shabbos, everyone.
The Cairo